Hello, everyone, and welcome to a day in the life of Desirae segment of Moved by the Music. I'm excited to have an extremely talented U.S. Billboard #1 ranking jazz pianist here with me today, who goes by the name of Skinny Hightower. Skinny is not a newcomer to playing the piano and has 2 albums already in circulation. His first, Cloud 9, was self-produced and released in 2016. Just a year later, he began working with the label Trippin' and Rhythm Records, a division of Sony Music, where he released his label debut, Emotions. Fast forward to now, Skinny is 1 day away from the release of his 3rd album, Retrospect. It is a pleasure to have you join me here today, Skinny. Welcome to Moved by the Music.
Hey, glad to be here, Desirae, and thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm excited.
So let's start with your history and how you came to develop your passion for music. You're in fact a multi-instrumentalist, but you had a particular interest in the drums at an early age. Tell us how that came about and how you began to branch out to other instruments.
Yeah, drums was pretty much the center of everything I did as far as the instruments I learned to play. My dad, he used to sit me on his lap. I don't know how young I was. I mean, I just saw pictures of when I was 2 years old with me with sticks in my hands sitting on his lap and trying to reach for for the cymbals and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I was introduced to drums. And I was kind of obsessed with it. And I would practice every day, and it just carried on through the years. And when I got to middle school, high school, I played in basically every band there was, either as a percussionist or a drummer or vibraphonist or something like that. And that's actually how I got introduced to the other instruments, partially. But my mother, she initially she tried to teach me how to play piano, but at the time I wasn't serious about it. I think I was probably 8 or 10 years old, and I was just so focused on drums that I didn't even want to mess with it at all. But then later on, I got introduced to not guitar. I saw my uncle playing guitar, but it made me want to play the bass because I just liked the way it felt. I think I was 16 at the time, and I mean, it just felt more natural to me than playing guitar. So that actually stuck with me, and still to this day. But at the time, it was still just drums and bass, and I didn't really take piano serious until after I did Emotions. So even Cloud 9 and Emotions aren't really a display of my piano playing per se, more a display of my production style at the time.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So after my mother passed, that's when I kind of said, you know what, she wanted me to do music. I need to take this serious and hone in on an instrument. And that's when I made the decision to stick with piano. And that was back in 2016, or no, 2014. But I didn't really start picking it up until 2017. That's when I made the decision to actually really take it serious. And from that day forward, just practicing for hours, pretty much that dedication I have for drums, I translated that over to piano. So, I was practicing pretty much most of the day. If I was awake,
right.
I was practicing, and I'm still that way. I like to play as much as I can because it's like a release for me. I'm not really an emotional person, but when it comes to music, that's when I feel like I have a chance to release those emotions. So, yeah, that's pretty much.
Music is definitely a way that you can do that. You can release and let out all of that, the pressure of the day and everything. I even read something, about you that I found really intriguing about the actual method in which you use to actually feel and view music. You said, I don't just listen to music, I analyze it, study it, break it down, answer the questions, why and how. Anything I could do to raise the value of the listening experience. Why is that important to you? I love that.
I think I don't know if I would say important to me. I think it's just a part of me. Like the way I was raised, at a particular time in my life, I stopped really just listening to music and I wanted to make music. And I learned very early on that if I listen to something, then I draw from it because I break it down so much that it usually sticks with me in some way, either in my mind or my heart. So, that's why it's hard for me to listen to music for entertainment. I can't just sit and listen to music. I have to, I'll break it down.
Break it down.
Yeah. So that's why I'm very, very particular about what I listen to, because if I listen to it, it's gonna get analyzed and I'll probably draw from it more than likely. So I'm very particular about what I listen to.
I can only imagine. And, thank you for sharing that because, there's so much, there's so many types of music, that's circulating in our world. And, some people, find enjoyment in listening to a variety. And some people, feel like they can't listen to certain things because it just doesn't do anything for them. So I was wondering too, and I think I can say, that I've learned a little bit about you these past few months from reading about you in music news and just through observation, some of your videos. And I respect the fact that you stand by your views and opinions because, hey, they're yours. And it's been said that once you play a song, you never play it again the exact same way you did before. How else do you make a connection with those who listen to your music, and what is it that you would want them to feel during that listening experience, listening to you, and even after listening to you, that makes them remember who you are?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that's interconnected. The fact that I don't like to play something the same way, that's a testament to my wanting to express myself on a daily basis. So if I'm feeling a particular way this day, I'll play it a different way. Or if I think about something right before I play, I'll all of a sudden, play it go in a different direction. And I think people can relate to that because that's the way life works. We're not robots, so we're not programmed to be the same way every day, every minute, every hour. Things change, our minds change. We think about different things. So if they hear the music presented to them in that way, I feel that they can connect to that more easily than if somebody's just playing something exactly the way they heard it on the record or something like that. And they might as well sit at home and listen to the record. But I feel like people relate more to that daily experience expressed through the music.
Right, I agree with you because, and then also, Skinny, you're bringing in an element of authenticity to your music because people, like you said, we're people living every day. Our moods change, our emotions change.
Yeah.
We're not the same constantly, and to be able to change it up like that and to still connect with people because that's how we are. And music is a known connector. It brings people together. It helps people get through things. So I love that you shared that. And I know you spent some time in the Army, and I want to thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you.
And you're welcome. And at one point, you had been assigned to Afghanistan when you received word that your mom had passed away. And losing a parent is devastating. And sometimes, those experiences change how we even see the world around us. So how did that period in your life change and shape you mentally and musically, if you don't mind sharing?
I would say mentally, what happens in a situation like that, and I can only speak for myself, that other people probably been through the same thing, but they experience it in a different way. But for me, it basically turned everything upside down because it was unexpected. So you're living your life in a certain way, you're thinking in a certain way, you're comfortable with your family setting, and that has a lot to do with the rest of your life and your mental state. And after she passed, it was like that comfort was gone. So it caused me to, and it was a long process. It caused me to look within myself and figure out who I was, because a lot of me was attached to to her on a spiritual level, on a mental level, on a musical level. So I had to look within myself and do a self-assessment to see who I was. And it was a hard period because, you know, like I was saying, you're used to that comfort. You're used to having that person available to talk to, bounce ideas off of. So it requires a lot of work, but at the same time, it's beneficial. See, people have this misconception about pain. They think that you're supposed to avoid the pain. And it goes back to this story about a caterpillar, and a boy saw this caterpillar. He was about to turn into a cocoon. And he was going through the process, and the boy wanted to rescue the caterpillar. So he ended up getting some scissors, and he cut the caterpillar out of the cocoon. Well, the caterpillar turned into a butterfly, but it died 2 days later. And that's how life works. It needs that caterpillar needed that pain in order to grow. It had to go through that process. And that's why I knew I had to face that pain head on and not avoid it, because I tried to run away from it for a long time. And all it did was hurt me on many different levels. But it was when I decided to face that pain head on and figure out what I needed to do moving forward, that's when I started to grow. And matter of fact, that's when Skinny Hightower was born.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. And you're absolutely right. You know, when we are faced with unexpected things, you know, it's the unexpected things that hit us the hardest, because, like you said, we're going through our life, living every day, and we don't expect to be blindsided by things. And, you know,
right.
So yes, people definitely can relate to losing a parent. I lost my father to cancer, and when I was
sorry to hear that.
Thank you. And it was expected. You know, we knew that, you know, the end was near. But I do understand what you mean by, you know, just be involved in your life, and all of a sudden, you know, wham,
right.
Here it is, and it knocks you off your feet and turns everything upside down, like you said. So I really appreciate you sharing that, because I mean, the way that you can relate to people through your music and through some of the melodies that you play, you know, they touch the heart. And like you said, pain is released differently for different people.
Right.
So I think it's really important that you share that. So what is the best piece of advice or words of wisdom for anybody who has a really strong desire to get involved with music?
I would say first, find out if you really want to do it. That's the thing. Start out with that. If that's something you feel like you were put on this earth to do, then go for it. The next step is find out exactly where you want to go with it. What do you want to communicate? And what is your voice? So you do whatever you have to do. You beat on your craft every day until you discover what your voice is. And because that's the key to not fitting in. Because when you're doing music to sound like everybody else, the best you can get is what everybody else has got. And if you want to truly get everything you can out of it, you have to be true to yourself. So I would say also they need to be prepared for failure, rejection. I mean, that's in any field you decide to do.
Right.
All that stuff comes with it. That's just a part of life. And what happens with most people is they quit, or they give up, or they change directions just because of failure. Now, you make the adjustments, but you have to keep moving forward. So
yeah,
I would say those are the most important pieces. Just work hard, don't quit, know exactly what you want to do and what you want out of it and what you want to communicate to your listeners.
Right. And I agree with that, because, you know, the industry, you know, can be tough. You know, there's going to be open doors, there's going to be closed doors, you know, failure. As you were saying, people look at that like, oh, well, you know, I didn't get it done, or I couldn't get this finished, and, you know, I'm just going to move on and do something else, when really, you know, the passion and desire is still in their heart. And really, failure is feedback. It's just feedback, letting you know what you need to change or some new method. And, you know, people who keep plugging away and they have that persistence, you know, they're not giving up, I think have a lot to say for themselves, because they keep it moving and they keep, you know, honing their craft until they get it to get it right. So,
and
okay,
people.
so, go ahead.
I was just going to say, anybody, if you look up anybody that's successful in their field, I mean, I can guarantee that they failed probably 10 more times than everybody else.
Yes.
And the thing, like Thomas Edison, he didn't fail 10,000 times. He found out 10,000 ways not to make a light bulb. I mean, that's advantageous because you know you're one step closer to actually making that light bulb. So I think if people approach failure with that mindset, they have a better chance of doing what they want to do with their life.
That's right, and that's some really, really great advice. So let's get into the discussion about your highly anticipated third album, Retrospect, and why you named it as such. Tomorrow is a huge day for you, and it's been talked about, and it's being released during a special album release party there in Wichita, Kansas. That I'll, of course, be at in spirit, of course.
Yeah, thank you.
But you have a lot of great titles from titles like From the Heart, Joyful Memories, and of course One Way Street, which happens to be doing great on the Billboard charts, by the way. So tell us about what the word retrospect means to you, and in what ways was working on those 15 tracks a retrospective reflection of your life?
Yeah, that's a good question. The reason I chose that title, and it wasn't until all the songs were done. Basically, I saw it as a look back on everything I've done, looking at my life in retrospect and assessing everything I've done and figuring out what can I do to move forward, to push the boundaries even more. So, it's basically a message to everybody out there, take an assessment of your life. Look where you've been, the things you've done, and sometimes that's needed in order for you to really move forward. It's kind of like when you're driving, you don't not have a rear view mirror. You have to look back sometimes. You don't stay there, but you have to look back, every once in a while. And that's the message, to my listeners is basically, take an assessment of your life and look back at what you've done and see what you can do to improve and get better at what you do.
Absolutely. I mean, that is so important to just take stock of your life and actually take the time to, sit down and, and analyze things. Just the same way that you analyze music, you have to sometimes say to yourself, this method is not working for me. Let me go back and try to revise things. And the only way that can happen is to look at what you've been doing so you can change it up and change, your methods up, which is important. So I like that you named it Retrospect, and I think that's a great opportunity for people too, especially at your listening party tomorrow to find out more about, your motives for everything that you're doing, and it's awesome. And that brings me to this because creativity, let's talk about creativity for a minute.
Yeah.
Because creative people like you never stop being creative. It doesn't have, say, hours during the day or a time where your creativity just shuts off. Even when you're sleeping, you're still thinking. So is there a time when you feel the most creative and inspired, or do you just get inspiration through the things around you?
Yeah, inspiration from me on a creative level usually it can come at any time from anything. But the way I like to operate is I kind of, if it's an idea that comes to my head, I'll go ahead and put it down. Like just put it down as an idea or something like that. But what I like to do is before a release, like what I did with Retrospect, all I did for the year up to that was practice and study. I didn't record anything. So the ideas, I just kept them in my head and let them kind of marinate. And then it wasn't until probably about a month before that I started. Okay, I said, okay, now it's time for me to put these ideas. They had a chance to marinate. And usually when that happens, when I do it like that, the ideas they go in a whole different direction. They go further than I thought they could. So yeah, my creative process is a little different. That's how I operate. I don't record year round or every day or anything like that. I usually say, okay, now it's time for me to really get serious about this and put this stuff down. And up until that point, I'm preparing myself in a technical and mental and musical way to convey the ideas in the best way possible.
Yes, and you're very disciplined. That's one thing I've come to learn about you through reading about you and through listening to your music. And it takes that. Sometimes you put things aside. You do what you need to do, and you get it done. And you might come back to it later on when you're ready to let all that out. And it's just the same with having all these ideas in your head, and you don't act on them until you're ready to, until you know that things are done and finished, which I really admire about you. So now I have to ask this question. Mm-hmm. Well, I actually don't really need to ask, but I want to ask you this question. But I noticed some really, really, really awesome body art, otherwise known as tattoos, that you have.
Yeah.
And as deep and as retrospective of a person that you are, and with tattoos, of course, being symbolic in nature, tell us a little bit about the meaning of some of them and what inspired your choices for that.
Yeah, it's basically 2 sleeves, and it's mostly comprised of a lot of random stuff, but they all have a message. Like there's an MD, the letters MD on my arm. I think that was the very first tattoo I ever got, and that was actually in the military. It stands for Mary Davis, my grandmother. I got that in dedication to her. I got 2 Jesus fish on the back of my forearms. And then the one I get the most questions about and the most comments on is the one on my left forearm. It looks like the Godfather logo, but it actually says God the Father. And then instead of holding the puppeteer, the puppet strings, he's holding the cross. But yeah, I mean, I got a lot of crazy. It would take me all day to explain all of them, but.
Yeah, I was like, let's just talk about a few of them. But I just had to ask you, I was looking at, through some of your pictures and listening to your music, and, creativity goes hand in hand with symbolism, for me, anyway.
Yeah.
Some things mean different things to different people. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about that. So I'm glad that you answered, because I know that has nothing to do with music.
Right.
But I wanted to know. So.
An interesting thing, most of these tattoos that I got, I actually got them in the military from a soldier. He's an excellent tattoo artist now, but when he first started, it was like a few of us. We used to let him, use us as guinea pigs. So, I mean, yeah, he did a good job. I mean, he's a great tattoo artist.
Yeah.
I told him he needs to open up his own shop. We'll see if he does. But yeah, he did most of the work on my arms.
They come in and get the skinny Hightower special.
Yeah.
Now, you're going to be traveling to California soon for the historic Catalina Island Jazz Tracks Festival. Tell us a little bit about that upcoming event.
Yeah, so we'll be there October, the last weekend, and Art Good got in contact with us and requested we come out there, and we were excited to come, and basically we just want to give people the opportunity to hear something different, because our motto is constant improvement. It's not about just learning the material; it's about finding ways to constantly improve and convey this in a way that resonates with people that watch us and listen to us. So yeah, we're grateful for the opportunity to be able to express our art the way we want to. I think that's really what it's about.
Yeah, I believe so, and that's going to be a great performance over there, and have a lot of different people. And Catalina Island is beautiful, so that's going to be a great thing to be able to be a part of. So along with being a multi-instrumentalist, you have also some producer credits, and you're the founder of Vein Productions. How do you balance both aspects of your profession?
Well, I focus mostly on, what I'm doing. So that's the key element. But as far as the production side, I try to help artists pretty much who don't have the time or the money to, do a project or a single or a song. And, I still hold production close to my heart. And that's one of my passions. So it's just an opportunity for me to help other people out other musicians out that are wanting to get into doing music but don't have the means to do so. So that's basically why I started Vane Productions.
Okay. Do you set out time, for to do what you need to do for your music, and then also do something for other people with your production? Do you have like a schedule that you do, or you just kind of do things as they come?
Yeah, usually as they come. If somebody needs work, I usually devote all of that time, no matter how long it takes, to getting that done, and then I adjust my schedule accordingly. So the focus is what I'm doing, but if somebody comes to me with something, whenever I get started on it, that's all I work on. Because when I get in that creative mode, I like to stay there. I don't bounce back and forth.
Good.
Yeah.
I love that you shared that. You remain focused until you get it done. I love that.
Right.
So I always save my best question for last. So in light of my show that's titled Moved by the Music, how are you moved by the music?
That's an interesting question. I think music speaks to me in a different way because I actually see music. I don't just listen to it. I see it. Like I see the notes and the different instruments being played. So I see it on a very deep level, and that kind of moves me in a creative way, on an inspirational level. So I would say music moves me in more of a creative and emotional way than anything else.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, that's evident with your music and the way things sound and how you put things together. You're awesome. So, Skinny Hightower, it has been a pleasure speaking with you today. You're incredibly talented, and I'm so excited about your Retrospect album release tomorrow. And in fact, all of the incredible things you're surely going to continue to do in your career. And have a great time celebrating tonight.
Oh, will do. And thank you. The pleasure was mine.
Not tonight, tomorrow night.
Right, yeah. But the pleasure was mine. Thank you for having me on the show. It was an honor. Great interview. And continue to do what you do.
You are welcome. And one more thing before I forget, shout out all of your social media handles for everybody.
Yeah, so people can reach me on Facebook, Skinny Hightower Music, Instagram at Skinny Hightower, YouTube Skinny Hightower. Still working on that. Trying to get into the YouTube thing is different. And then and my website, skinnyhightower.com.
Okay, and all of those links can be found on your website anyway, can't they?
Right, yeah.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much again, Skinny, and we look forward to so much more from you.
Hey, thank you, Desirae. Have a blessed day.
You do the same. Take care.
What's going on? Skinny Hightower. Desirae, I want to say thank you once again for the awesome interview. Hope we can do it again in the future. And everybody that's out there listening and watching, go to skinnyhightower.com and order Retrospect. Your support is much appreciated. Okay, if you purchase it, listen to it, share it with your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Okay, so Desirae, stay blessed. Everybody out there, stay blessed. It's Skinny Hightower signing off.
And there you have it from the man himself, Skinny Hightower. I hope you enjoyed this edition of Moved by the Music. For more videos, follow my YouTube channel under Desirae L.Benson. Enjoy!